Ukraine's Jamala won Eurovision 2016, but she did not win the second semifinal. It's time to review the results. You guys ready? Let's
do this!
That's right. Dami Eam from Australia actually took the crown in semifinal 2. She won the jury vote in a landslide with 188 points, putting her well ahead of second place jury finisher Laura from Belgium. Yes, Jamala only came third with the jury here. She lost to Belgium by 4 points. That is a rather surprising result. I guess we should remember that Belgium did perform last, and Belgium did have an epic stage show, which might explain her second place finish with the jury and third place finish with the televoters. You guys, are you surprised by Belgium's success in this semi?
I'm surprised by it in context of the final, particularly because I think the running order really shows that Belgium were very much punished in the final, because they got 135 points on the televote in semi-final 2. They beat Poland and Bulgaria and so many countries that then finished above them in the televote of the grand final. So I do feel sorry for Laura that she was then kind of like picked as the opener, as this sacrificial lamb, effectively. But I'm surprised that she beat Ukraine.
Because she had a nice poppy song, but her vocals, while they were perfectly acceptable, they're not powerhouse jury-based kind of vocals. But it's kind of like a lot of people I saw on Twitter and when I was talking to people at home and in the press center, it was kind of like High School Musical kind of vibes, like a Disney Channel film, and that the song would have fitted in there, which isn't exactly the kind of stuff that the juries are going after, because it's not a current chart song. Like, it is poppy, it's fun, but I think it probably really benefited from being the only really truly upbeat pop song in the semi. Bulgaria were there too, but it was that bit more serious, whereas Belgium was just so light and fun. That's the only reason I can see it doing so well with the juries.
Bulgaria finished below Lithuania in the jury vote. Polly only came 6th. I mean, is this a matter of regional support? Did Donny have more neighbors here? Bulgaria is such a strong song, manages to come 4th overall at Eurovision, but here is losing out to some countries that I really don't think she should be losing out to.
I imagine Polly probably benefited from the likes of Russia, maybe, and a few other Western countries who obviously would have cheated if love was a crime. I think they're probably more likely to have voted for her. I think, yeah, she definitely got everything that she deserved. The surprise for me is that Latvia finished below Lithuania overall at Eurovision, but again in the semi-final. I think we all thought that Use was going to be the big Baltic song, and actually no, it was Donny. And again, that same kind of like High School Musical fun guy kind of dancing around thing that worked as a girl for Laura might have worked for Donny as well here.
And it was by a large margin, actually. You know, they finished 6th and 7th in the televote, but Lithuania had 118 points to Latvia's 68. And then in the jury, it was 104 for Lithuania and just 64 for Latvia. So it's a clear victory for Lithuania. You slay the Baltic region. Porrig, what stands out to you?
The fact that Miss Calliope from Macedonia would have qualified if it was down to televoters. And I guess that just goes down to her being a big name in that region. And I would imagine that most of the votes came from Serbia, Slovenia, Albania. Because I can't see her appealing to anyone west of the Baltics, or Balkans, west of the Balkans or north of the Balkans. That it's very much in that region. And the jury's rightfully, I think, docked her down. It would have been nice, obviously, to see her get to the final, because it's never nice to see anyone fail, and it would have been nice to see Macedonia get through. But it's interesting to see that Macedonia do have the potential to get televote support, because they usually fare really badly in both televotes and juries. But the juries obviously weren't going for her dated ballad with her dressed as a frumpy maid.
But what the televoters were going for was Belarus, and Ivan, he finished 9th with his Naked Wolves in the televote, but the jury only ranked him 12th. We thought this was going through. I think a lot of us on Team Wiwibloggs thought this was going through. It looked great and sounded great, but the jury wasn't feeling it. Well, Chris, you seem skeptical of what I'm saying. Why do you think the jury punished it?
I'm watching it again on TV, not being in the press center. It didn't look that good to me personally, and I always liked the song to begin with. I went off it a bit in the middle, and Ivan's vocals were better, but his vocals were still probably some of the weakest. I mean, obviously against Rika, you're always going to look good, and you're not going to be the worst, but it wasn't anything great. And, you know, we'd seen so many holograms, and the juries would have seen so many hologram kind of effects already that it wasn't the best. Armenia had the best hologram. It was all just a bit throw everything we can at it and see if it works. And it just didn't hit a chord with me. But clearly some people did. It did work for them. But he was only just ahead of like Serbia and Georgia in the televote, and that's where I think he fell down.
I think it's also worth pointing out that your bae, Manuela, would have qualified if it was down to juries, which I find completely bizarre because the song musically has nothing that the juries should be marking points for because it's dated. It's Taylor Swift light. The lyrics are just so repetitive, blue and red, and such a weird metaphor. And the staging then was her standing looking like a gospel kind of Christian rock singer from America while a half-naked man spun around on a pole.
Listen,
I don't know how the juries write this.
You are not a composer, I am not your song. This song was amazing. The musical professionals understand that Manuela slays. I listen to this song every single day with my roommate in Stockholm. This song is so catchy. Once you get into this song, you can't stop listening to this song. You're like...
I think he looked really good as well. I thought her vocals were really good on the night of the semi-final that I saw. I think that it's very much like what happened with Melanie Renee, though, last year, where she went on after the ultimate semi-final winner in Australia, and it just completely overshadowed anything she would have done with the televote, which I think is probably what hurt her the most. Yeah, I liked it. I wanted it to qualify too. So. And
Porg, I've got to ask you, Nicky Byrne, after he was eliminated, he pointed out that many Western countries did not get through, but it seems that, you know, the public liked him more than the jury, and you would normally say Western countries don't get through because of the public and diaspora voting, etc. What do you make of Nicky Byrne's results?
I'm surprised by the public. I thought he would be higher up, and that's purely going by his name. For the same reason Calliope has an established name down in the Balkans, they pushed her up. That Nicky in Western and the Scandinavian countries is quite well known, and that should have pushed him up because he has quite online. He has quite an avid fan base because they're voting for him in all our polls. They obviously didn't pick up the phones on the night. I'm not too surprised by the juries because his song, while he sung it as well as he could, the staging was just boring. Like looking at it, I can see maybe I wouldn't have had him third from bottom out of all the scores, but I'm not surprised that he's amongst the jury's non-qualifiers. I am more surprised about Norway being 13th with both, because I thought that was the kind of song that the juries would go for, because musically it's adventurous, because the change in tone the change in tempo is so stark and so kind of new and unheard of before. And with the public not voting for it, I can get, because she did no promotional tour, she didn't even appear on the red carpet, no press conferences. The last interview she did was after the final of Melody Grand Prix. She hasn't done anything since, so she wasn't in the public's mind when they'd be voting for her. So, but the juries don't take that kind of thing into context, so I thought they would have rewarded her. But I guess it's kind of the same thing we said it in our other video about the final, that herself and Sanja to a lesser extent, because Sanja just scraped into the final, but in the battle of the divas, they lost out between Jamala and Dami.
And in this case, Laura, who apparently is now a young teen queen. What's curious to me is that during Eurovision, it was almost like Norway wasn't there, we were sitting there covering all the rehearsals, all the press conferences, all the interviews, and obviously she wasn't doing those things. And I kept forgetting that Norway was even in the competition. Like, I was thinking about Romania more than I was about Norway, and Romania wasn't even participating. And I wonder if doing all that promotion actually does have an impact, because perhaps the juries are paying attention. Juries are watching these things, checking out rehearsals ahead of the show. Certainly the public, they do pay attention, they Google stuff. Yeah, it's unfortunate that she's had a condition that's prevented her from doing this, and I hope the next year Norway can get back on track. And that she's doing well. I'm not trying to hate on you, girl. I hope you're doing well.
I think it's telling that, as well, you look at the jury, the last 4 places, Albania, Denmark, Ireland, Poland, had no staging. Albania was Aneda, stood there. Denmark was Lighthouse 10, stood there. Ireland was Nicky Byrne, stood there. And Poland was Mikhail with an orchestra who weren't actually part of the song playing there, so...
Oh, and let's keep this up. Next was Switzerland. She stands in place having to pee. So
yes!
You're definitely onto something.
Coming out of her for some reason.
Yeah,
it's
on fire.
Yeah, and then Belgium at the top, so...
Oh, if you want to slay, you better stage something, y'all. That is our takeaway. Final thoughts. Chris.
Israel doing so poorly on the televote and getting through only because of the juries. Obviously, if anybody saw our Wee Wee jury video, I'm not surprised about the televote not being so high. But yeah, he's kind of like the inverse of Mikhail, I suppose, where, you know, the televote loved him, the jury didn't love him as much. And yeah, Hovey, very good vocally, jury obviously going to respond to that, but there was 2 minutes of nothing in that song, and then a minute of power, and that was all that I ever saw in it.
Yeah, I think with Israel, they're always going to struggle with the televote for obviously ongoing political controversies and issues, and the fact that Hovey Star on top of that is an androgynous, flamboyant character probably makes it even more difficult for some people, obviously not me, to vote for him. But thank God for the juries. In this instance, is all I have to say, because they recognize quality. Porrig.
I don't have much to add on Mr. Star. Looking at the rest of the results, yeah, they're all kind of as I expected. Everybody was expecting Switzerland to come last. They did. Yeah, maybe just that the jury were so receptive to Georgia is surprising.
Yeah, it's almost like Thomas Gayson, he's programmed to write songs for juries. He knows what makes their buttons, or how to push their buttons, what makes them tick. I mean, Robin, a Wee Wee blogger, loves this. This was like one of her top songs, same with Kristen. So yeah, there's something for everyone, and that something is Georgia. In any event, that's what we think. What do you think? Are you happy with the semi-final 2 results? Who did the jury overrate? Who did they underrate? You can let us know here on Wee Wee Blogs.
And make sure to hit subscribe for lots more videos.
And also make sure to hit that like button.
See you later.
Bye.